Hey, I am your host, Kim Brown Jefferson, and welcome to FabFit TV. I help women over 40 to feel less fluffy so that they can live a life of infinite possibilities. And, probably a few weeks ago, I was attending an event, and one of the topics was about goal setting. And, the speaker was like, how many, women in this room, don't like to set goals? And there's probably 30-ish women in the room. And I'd say half of their hands went up. And I was like, you're afraid to set goals? That just was the most foreign concept to me ever. I didn't get it. I was like, well, why do you set goals? Like, why don't you set goals? And so, the speaker, that was her whole talk. And so the speaker was like, why don't you set goals? And basically, so many people don't like to set goals because they've set goals in the past and they've either not hit them, or maybe they set goals in the past and it just put too much pressure on them. There's that fear of success, there's that fear of failure. And then some people set goals and it just wasn't a goal that they were excited about. I remember when I worked at corporate, I worked for a company, and literally every quarter, we had a review. And every quarter we were given goals. And, let's be honest, 90% of the goals I set was because I thought I should say the right thing, right? You can't say, when you're in a corporate job, you can't say, I don't give a rat's keister about any of this. I just want you to pay me money on the 15th and the 31st of the month and just leave me alone. That would get you fired. Just saying. So that, those kind of goals were like what I originally was used to setting. I never really set, goals in my life. I set big goals, like, my husband and I, we saved for our wedding. My husband and I, we saved for a house. But other than that, I literally bumped along through life. So then when I first started to get into health and fitness, the trainer that I worked with, he said, let's set some goals. Like, why are you here? I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you to waste my time. Why are you here? And for a lot of people, that can be very who the hell are you? Or that could be like, yeah, you're right. I don't want to waste my time. You feel inspired. You feel empowered. Like, yeah, let's do this. Let's come up with some stuff. And after hearing those women, I could totally see how it can be scary. Especially if you've told yourself you're going to lose 50 pounds in 3 days and you didn't do it, and you're like, screw it, pass the brownie. I get that. So what today I wanted to talk about is that when I first became a wellness coach and I went through my coaching program, one of the cornerstones of the program was creating a wellness vision. And I don't know why it just kind of flew out of my head why I haven't talked about this before. So the wellness vision it takes the pressure off of the goal. Instead, I want you to think about the vision as your ideal scenario, your ideal day. We're just brainstorming, we're visualizing, we're like, if I could have anything in the world, this is what I want. And we've all played that game. My husband and I, my parents used to live in New York, and we would drive, back and forth between Boston and New York. And there was always, right where 95 and 91 came together, there was always this giant billboard, and it had the lottery numbers. And it would say, Powerball is, X point $million, and, the daily lotto is another crazy, millions of dollars. And literally for probably 20 or 30 minutes past that sign, we would go back and forth saying, okay, if, and so I'm making up the number. So if it was $200 million, all right, that's enough money to go into work and just tell everyone what you think about them after the check clears. And then, we would say, what would we do? What's the first thing? And we would just have this complete, fantasy time of what would we do? And that's what I want you to think about the wellness vision, because we've all played that game of if money was no object, what would you do? If you had unlimited vacation time, where would you go? But we never really do that when it comes to the container of real life. So that's what the wellness vision is. It's in the container of real life, what do you see your healthy lifestyle? Like, what do you see for yourself? Like, what does success look like for you? And, let yourself go into that dreamweaver state. Let yourself just get crazy. And, I've talked about this multiple times. I journal. And so this is like not something that is going to be like this 5-minute exercise. Like, you're listening along and you're like, oh yeah, this is what I want for my wellness vision. That's not how it works. It might be a couple day process. You might just be, for me, I think best in like the most random situations. Like, I used to take public transportation a lot, and that was just the most creative, just things would just like come to me when I was on the T, things would just come to me on the bus, and I was just like, oh my God, this is such a creative thing. And then probably, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, there's a guy, his name is Nile Rodgers, and pretty much he's been a musician for zillions of years, and he has written, produced, played on a multitude of songs that we've all heard. And he says that where he gets inspiration, he lives in New York, he gets inspiration, he will literally ride the subway all night as he's like working through, lyrics to a song, or working through like the music to a song. So, we all find inspiration in weird spots. So I get it, on public transportation as well. So, things like that just come to me during public transportation, or things come to me when I'm not like, I need to think about this right now. And that's when it all comes. And so just sit down and just say, like, what is my ideal scenario when it comes to my health? What is my ideal scenario when it comes to my fitness? Like, what do I want? And when I was at this event a few weeks ago, this woman said, she goes, I want the golden zone. And she went on to describe what the golden zone was. And she said, the golden zone is, I'm not constantly thinking about what I'm eating. Is it good? Is it bad? I'm not freaked out if I miss a workout. I'm not, constantly like thinking about food. I'm not constantly thinking about exercise. I just wake up and it's just what I do. Now that's a vision. That right there is a vision. Her vision is, she calls it the golden zone. You could call it whatever the heck you want. You could call it hamburger land. I don't care. But she calls it the golden zone. And that's where she wants to go. And those are the kind of thoughts that I want you to bring up. What's keeping you stuck? What do you just like, you look at someone else and you're like, Susie has, A, B, C, and D, and if I could just have A of what Susie has, my life would just be complete. So think about those things and just write them down. And, don't feel like it has to be in any particular order. And I do have a blueprint for you. So if you can, if you're someone who's like, you need to have a little structured thinking, I do have a blueprint. It's available on my website. If you go to fabfitsquad.com/live TV, you will see this episode. And then you'll see a link to download the template for you to start creating your wellness vision. So, that's where you start. It's like, what is my ideal scenario? What do I want for my health and for my fitness? Because the best thing I ever heard was, if I aim at nothing, I'm always going to hit it. And I see so many people spinning their wheels, and it's because there's no clarity about what they want. I see them spinning their wheels because one day they want to, put on muscle. The next day they want a flat stomach. Then 2 weeks later, it's all about having a booty you can bounce a quarter off of. And then it's back to, I just want to, learn to have, better self-care. So you're just like, moving through life kind of here, there, and everywhere, and never really connecting and committing to a path. And when you don't connect and commit to a path, there's no way you can make forward motion. And then when you don't make forward motion, this doesn't work, this sucks, or I suck, I'm not supposed to do this, I'm not worthy. Whatever your story you tell yourself, the key with the vision is that I want you to think about it as, this is like old school. So some of you newbies might not know what I'm talking about. But back in the day, before there was GPS, you used to have to open up a map. Yeah, a map. And then AAA, you would send you this thing called a triptych. And literally it was, probably about the size of this. And say I wanted to go from Boston to Florida. And it would, I would have to call on the phone. There was no website. I would call on the phone and say, hey, I'm going to Boston to Florida. And they would ask me a series of questions. Did I want to drive straight through? Did I want to take the scenic route? They would ask about, hotels I might want to stay at along the way. They would talk about the kind of food I like. So they would, highlight different restaurants that I could pull off of the whole bit. And so literally the triptych, like every, I think 100 miles, it would say, start on the Mass Pike and head to 84 and then head to 91. And so you would do all of these steps and you would go through the triptych. So that's what the wellness vision is. It's your triptych for your health, so that if you did get off the route, you could come back to the triptych and be like, wait, where am I supposed to be? And you could look at it, kind of like nowadays in GPS, if you miss a turn, the little voice is like rerouting, right? Instead of rerouting, it's like, okay, where did I start? And I want to get back to here. And maybe you do need to reroute. But if I don't know where I started, how do I know where I want to go? And I always want you to think about, the more clear I am about where I want to go, the better chance I have of getting there. And also the better chance I have of making the micro adjustments to help me get there. And if you want to think about micro adjustments as, I'm driving down the highway and there's construction and maybe the whole road's closed. And so I have to, do a roundabout route because of construction. Or maybe the road's closed because there's a huge accident and, we're all trying to figure out how to get around this accident. I want you to just think about those kind of things, because that's life. There's bumps in the roads, there's accidents, there's always going to be detours. And figuring out the wellness vision, you kind of pre-think out those things. You kind of say, in the past, these have been my obstacles. So maybe your obstacles are vacations. Maybe your obstacles are certain people. Maybe your obstacles are certain foods. Maybe your obstacles are times of the day. And you just kind of pre-think what your known obstacles are, so that you can kind of say, okay, Susan, whenever she calls me, we always go out for a drink. And it's never one drink. It's always easily a bottle of wine that turns into food, that turns into, this, and this. So maybe it's, you call Susan and you set up parameters about, hey, this is what my vision is for my health. I would love to meet you for a drink, but it can't turn into a night of debauchery. And that way you kind of have this preemptive conversation, so that you just don't let the night go along and you wake up the next morning, kicking yourself like, oh, I did it again. Or maybe, it's like you're going on vacation. So you're you look for places that might have a gym. You look for places that might have healthier options, so that you're not feeling like, oh my God, I'm still on my diet on my vacation, but you're like, I can still have a fun vacation and still honor my health. So do you see where I'm saying, finding that, that ebb and that flow between, staying on the vision, but then also having that flexibility in your life? Because, I really hate when people are missing birthday parties, or they're so focused on getting up before everyone gets up so they can go to the gym and get that out of the day. No, I don't want that for you. That life, I live that, and it's not a fun life, and I want to save you from that. So the other thing about a wellness vision is set your priorities, right? You're not falling for those shiny objects. You're not seeing oh, Sally's doing keto and Susie's doing Whole30 and so-and-so's doing paleo. You're this is my vision. And does keto fit into what my vision is, what my priorities are? Does Whole30 fit into my vision, what my priorities are? And it always kind of helps ground you, kind of put your feet on solid ground, versus you always feel like you're scrambling. You're scrambling a bit for that. And the key for it is that you have to write it down. Like that is like the one thing that I think a lot of people miss is that you know, when I write it down, there's something that activates in my brain, that my brain starts to register this as truth. And there's a famous study from Harvard, Harvard, about goals. And so it was, I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head. There's things about goals. So they did, you know, they're graduating MBA students. And so I want to say they had a group physically write down what their goals were. They had a group tell the researchers what their goals were, and they had another group just think about what they wanted, what their goals were. I think it was like, I think they did like 5, 10, 15 years. And so, you know, they came back, and the group that physically wrote down their goals achieved more of them than the other two groups. And so I will find out those factoids and I will put them in the show notes, because it's a really interesting study about how the power of just writing things down really helps to just kind of get your brain just start to activate and start to tick off like, yeah, let's do this. Let's make this happen. So take the time, sit down, write out what your ideal vision is. And then also, you know, take the time to just see it, like see it in your mind and like make a movie of it. I know I really think about that and I need to get better at it. That's one of the things I'm working on. But there is a woman, her name is Lisa Nichols, and she is a motivational speaker. She's awesome. So Google her and watch one of her videos. She's just a rock star. And one of the things she talked about was she always wanted to meet Oprah. She was just like, Oprah. And she was one of the authors of The Secret. And if you don't know what The Secret is a book about the law of attraction. And so she was one of the people who participated in the book The Secret and the movie The Secret. And, you know, of course, Oprah was like, The Secret, this is an awesome book. You must come on my show. So for years, Lisa would see herself being interviewed by Oprah. She's like, I could smell the leather from the couch. I could feel what it was like to shake her hand. We're going to be besties, like the whole 9 yards. And here comes the day, you know, Oprah's people knock on the door and say, hey, we want you to come on the Oprah show. And she's there. And she's like, she goes, the whole experience was exactly how she envisioned it. She goes, the only thing that was missing, because there were, I think there were 7 or 8 of them being interviewed at the same time. She goes, we couldn't sit on the leather couch. So we're sitting in director's chairs. She's like, but everything else was just as she had imagined it in her mind. So I want you to like really get that clear of like, you know, that golden, you know, if that's what you call it, your golden zone of like, okay, you know, I just wake up at 5 a.m. and I just go to the gym. And I come home from the gym and I just automatically make a protein shake. I don't think anything different. I don't think, oh, where are the blueberry pancakes? I don't think, where is the, you know, bacon and eggs? I'm like, bring on that protein shake because I know this is going to nourish my body. And then, you know, in the evening, I have a bedtime. I'm never, you know, dragging booty all through the day because I don't know how to take myself to bed. You know, so it's like those kind of things, like just like close your eyes and just like see it happening. And, you know, the pure structure, and again, I give you this download on my website, fabfitsquad.com/live-tv, and just go to this episode, and we're episode 68, and you'll see exactly what the heck I'm talking about. So go to that page, and you will get the download for the Wellness Vision. So in that, it basically there's 6 steps to creating a wellness vision. And the first step is clear. You got to get clarity. Where do you want to go? Like if you were punching it into GPS, where are you going? Because if you punch in, you know, I'm here on Mass Ave in Cambridge. Mass Ave goes for 4 towns. So Mass Ave could lead me anywhere. It could be 20 miles that way, 10 miles that way. So where do you want to go? And be clear, like the more, and don't be afraid, like just have faith that you can do this and just be super clear about what you want. And then the next piece is, you know, who do you want to become? Like, who do you want to become? What is your motivation? You know, have the courage to say, the balls to be like, you know what? I'm planting a stake in the ground and this is who I want to become. Like, I'm done dilly-dallying over here. I'm planting my stake and this is where I want to, you know, where I want to land, where I want to end up. This is how I want to feel about myself, my body, my life. And then it comes into like, what is going to motivate you? Like, we all have those days. Like right now it's snowing outside. So imagine if this was 5 a.m. that you knew it was going to snow, and are you going to get up? Are you going to get up, shovel out your car, go to the gym? Maybe you have to shovel out your car again and then come back home, because there's been plenty of mornings I've done that. But you have to be in that mindset of like, you know what? I'm not going to roll over because it's snowing. I'm not going to come up with a multitude of excuses why I can't because of the snow. So you have to have, you know, that connection, that motivation inside. And then the next piece is, you know, what are the challenges? I talked about this earlier. You need to sit down and say, you know what? Stuff's going to happen. It's going to. A snow day is going to happen. You know, a flat tire, boss dumps work on your lap. All of that stuff is going to happen. Kids get sick. You get sick a whole bit. I want you to just like literally sit down and you know, write out those scenarios. What if any of that happens? And we know those things that always happen. You know, when I was in corporate, I had this boss. Whew, she literally made the Devil Wear Prada. She made her look like Mary Poppins. She was straight up the devil. Anywho, she would always just come up with these last minute projects for me to do. It would be like, you know, 5 o'clock. She'd be like, first thing in the morning, girl. And she's like, oh, you're a peach. And I'd be like, no, I'm more like an angry elf. Anyway, so she would always do that to me. And so finally I was like, you know what? I'm done. Like, uncle, like I'm always here. I was always like the last person at work. And I just was starting to get like resentful. And so I said, I got to do something for myself. And I found this kickboxing class 2 nights a week. And I said, you know what? I'm going to tell her that I'm 2 nights a week, I'm taking this class. Any other night I can stay late, but Mondays and Wednesdays I have to leave at 5:30, come hell or high water. And I went in and I told her, and I said, look, Penny, I'm like, you know, for my sanity, I really got to start to exercise. And these on 5, you know, Monday and Wednesday, I got to leave at 5 so that I can go to this class. And, you know, I got to say, at first she was just like, what? And then eventually she was like, she realized that like, I liked the class and I was less witchy to her and to other people when I went to this class. So, you know, figure out what are your obstacles and how are you going to get around those particular obstacles. And at the end of the day, it's all about how do I create the consistency, right? So it's like, I need to create these great habits, and the great habits will create the results, and the results will ultimately create the consistency. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to be able to have these repeatable events. We want to be able to say, you know, when I take these 3 actions, I know this is what's going to happen. I think about it like an experiment, you know, it's like, or if a recipe, you know, if I put together, you know, 3 different things, I know I'm going to get a great cake. Or if I put these things together, I'm going to get an amazing taco. You decide what motivates you more. But it's like that blueprint. It's like, you know, what do I want? What do I want to become? What are the habits, routines that I need to start to create? You know, what are my obstacles? Who's going to motivate me? Do I have a support group? Right? Because you need the support, because there's times when, you know, this starts talking to you louder than anything, and you just need someone who can be real with you, someone who can kind of like grab you by the feet and just bring you back down to earth when you start to spin out of control. So think about those kind of things. And the vision is, at the end of the day, it's your path. It's always kind of, you know, if I write it down, I can, for my vision, I write it down and I look at it every morning as part of my like morning ritual. I flip through it, I read it. I spend a few minutes closing my eyes and just seeing, you know, what my golden zone is. And then that's how I kind of like embody it into my day. And then I typically ask myself the question, how can I live my best life today? How can I live my ideal vision today? And usually something flows out of me that I'm like, oh, wow, I never thought about it like that. And maybe that'll happen for you. I don't know. But I just always want to throw those kind of things out there. I know for some people that might seem a little airy fairy. And 5 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, not so much for me. But it has really kind of changed my life to be able to sit down and create those things. So that is all I got for you tonight. I can be found on Facebook, Kim Jefferson Coach. I can be found on Instagram, Kim Barnes Jefferson Coach, and you could always reach me at my website, fabfitsquad.com. Remember, there's that free download to give you the template for the wellness vision that you guys can create on your own. I will be gone until March 12th when I'll be back. But in the meantime, have a fabulous rest of March and have a happy Valentine's Day.